Hello and welcome back to the Radio Gamescast. As always, I'm your host Ryan. Today I'm joined by a full cohort of lovely co-hosts. Wyatt.
Hello, I'm not dead.
That's good. So the problem is, as soon as one of us laughs, we're gonna start coughing. Brett,
Hello.
Alex, and Alex.
Yep.
The wonderful duology. All right.
You
So
have to
today,
rename me.
very special day. Everyone's been here before except for Alex. You have not been here before, so it's your first time doing a Gamescast Awards. These are our awards, or personal little meaningless awards to give to random games that we liked over the last year. I'll note most of us have made an effort to include many different games, which means you might hear games up for awards that maybe are not like the most what our top pick would be, but we didn't want Baldur's Gate to sweep again.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate kind of swept
Yeah.
my list.
Some of us
Still happened
couldn't
for some
help
of us.
ourselves.
Look,
I
there was
didn't
one
finish it, so I felt
big-
justified in not putting it at the top of my list. But I'm sure this year I'll probably be on there again. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started because this is a behemoth of a list. We've got a lot to tackle, and I'm going to start us off with the easy one, which is just best animal. I think best animal is one of the most important categories we have here, and I have to give it to Torgal from Final Fantasy 16. I think that's the best animal we've had this year in games.
I feel like you're biased there, Ryan, because you're about to get a physical version of him.
I did order a physical version of Torgal, so we'll see when
Torgal
that
is
gets
real.
here.
I have to second the love for Torgal. He's great. Not only can you pet him, and not only is he super adorable, he can also be used in your combos, and that's probably the coolest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Magic dog
So-
that can heal you, pretty great.
Magic dog that can heal you and also launch enemies up into the air and also jump and do this cool like sonic spin dash move. It's awesome. And he's,
Yeah, I
he's
don't-
the, be- he's the
I don't
bestest
think
boy.
I don't think Scratch can do that.
And now that I've gotten completely nonsensical, Alex, you had who's yours? You still have
Which
one on this
one?
list for best animal. You wrote
yeah,
something in this
yeah.
list down.
Yeah. Speaking of, so that I was using Scratch as a bit of a involuntary segue there, being the dog that you can find in Act 1 for Baldur's Gate. He's not the best animal though. The best one is the owlbear cub that you can get and incredibly easily miss. It's so adorable,
It's a good
I've been,
album, Cub.
and you can
I've
also
been-
pet him and Scratch at the same time.
I've been
Of
playing
course.
Baldur's Gate 3 with my girlfriend whenever we have the time, and one of our things is like, hey, I want to play it. I want to be the one to make the decisions and don't spoil anything for me, right? One thing that she did spoil, she was like, I'm gonna spoil this for you. I'm just gonna make sure you have the owl bear. Like that's the only thing I'm gonna spoil is that you
Yep.
have the best boy.
She's a saint.
I feel like it could just so easily become merch that is just one of those stuffed animals that is exclusively a sphere that you could have, and it would be so good.
All right. Well, now that we've started off with our lighthearted award, and as a note, not all of us put something down in every category because we don't play every game of the year. We have full-time
Yeah.
jobs. A lot of us.
Sometimes it's just not applicable.
It's not possible. So a lot of these
I
are,
kind
are
of have
more
a life.
personal ones. Which means, hey Brett, you're the next on my list, so you're next to pick.
Hello. Hmm. Well, we got a really wide shotgun spread of serious and stupid categories here. Some of which are definitely my fault. But why don't we go for another positive, perhaps a big one, but we don't want to string along with just silly things for the first hour and a half.
Yeah,
until we
best
get to the
animal
end.
was
Why
just
don't
an
we-
opener.
Why don't we talk about some of our favorite Game Pass games that we played over the last year of doing our Game Pass Games Club? I am not the only one that put this, but I put Hi-Fi Rush because I mean I did like a lot of games that I thought I wouldn't, which is why I like doing the Game Pass Games Club with you guys. I Try to be
Yeah.
there for those as often as possible. But you see, Hi-Fi Rush had a Xenogears reference in it. So
So it
I
wins.
I contractually could not put anything else there.
Hi-Fi Rush has
Um,
so many references in it. It
and they
loves
work.
itself.
It's not
And
like
they're not obnoxious.
yeah, and if you don't get them, it's like, oh well, this is still like funny or absurd, so I'll laugh anyway or even guffaw. But like if you do get them, then it's like, okay, this is pretty sweet actually. On top of that, the rest of the game is good, good enough to warrant finishing by a good chunk of us here today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where we tried to diversify our games as much as possible to be better than a certain Jeff. But Hi-Fi Rush does appear very often and for good
Yeah.
reason.
I'm gonna jump in next with, because I had written down Hi-Fi Rush, and Hi-Fi Rush is
Yes.
my like big Game Pass game of the year. But I actually want to give it to one, because we've already talked about Hi-Fi Rush, that I think a lot of us really gelled with, but just forgot to mention, just because we played it very early in the year. Ghost Song.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I thought that
Yeah.
was that was the winter one for last year, wasn't it? That was like our last. Well, I
Yeah,
guess
we finished
that
it in
counts.
January, so it counts.
Ah,
Yeah, it was very
yes.
early. We
Yeah.
didn't talk about it last year.
Oh yeah. I think
don't
that's another
so.
one that I finished it at least. I don't know.
I
Yeah,
did too.
no, Brett, Alex, and I all finished it. It was very good. That was
Hey,
very
if
much
Silk Song
a
isn't
good
out,
one.
that's a good game.
Yes.
So here's the thing. When it comes to the best Game Pass game we played this year, I already knew what my answer was. It's Deep Rock Galactic, because Deep Rock Galactic is one of the greatest video games ever made. But I decided to challenge myself a little bit and say, listen, that's too easy. All right. Put Deep Rock aside for a second. Put my completely unbiased love and adoration for that game aside for a second. I think the game that impressed me the most was Bannerlord. I'm really glad that I got into it, because what a game, what a meaty game we got here.
I'm glad you got into it too, because you had a rough first impression, I would say.
I did, which we had talked about in our episode that you should definitely go check out. But I saw that it was directional melee combat, and I got scared because I don't.
That's a fair thing to get scared of.
Because I don't like directional combat, and like I said in that video, this game made me realize that I actually like directional combat if two things happen. A, I have a shield, so I don't have to deal with blocking that much. And a B, when it's not online, so people aren't cheesing it constantly and it becomes really stupid.
I also really love Bannerlord, and it was very nearly my pick here. I had put a game down here, and when we played Bannerlord in the last month or so, I thought about switching it. But for me, my pick is going to go to when we played Sea of Thieves, and specifically the Legend of Monkey Island stuff they
That
added
was
to
fun.
that game.
That was
I
great.
think
It's
it
fun
was
to
an
see, like-
absolute blast.
It's fun to see a
and
3D point and click kind of thing.
yeah,
going on.
it took so much from the gameplay of those games, which in turn really shakes up a lot of what's going on in Sea of Thieves. It's a fun change of pace for that game.
Yeah. I'd love to go back and play more with you guys at some point, because they have the Safer Seas mode now, which is like private servers, essentially.
Yeah, so we can
The
play without
rewards
getting ganked
are-
constantly.
But the rewards are nerfed to shit. Like, it's
But
really
it's
not
still
worth it.
probably
but-
an easier way to get through some of that content, like the Monkey Island stuff.
Oh,
that,
100%. Yeah.
just then you're not getting ganked while moving from location to location.
I think mine has been pretty much the game that I've come back to probably once a month or once every 2 months this year since we played it, or since it was chosen by Brett, I believe. Loop Hero. It's so easy to pick up and put down with how it handles its gameplay loop.
Yeah, that would be in the
it's
running
a-
for me too if I hadn't. I beat that game before we had played it, so I feel unfair including it in this list. But
I have made I don't think any progress in like upgrading my little settlement thing, I just keep doing
Just keep looping.
rounds. Yeah, because I haven't beaten the skeleton guy yet. I'm nowhere near upgraded enough for any of my
it's-
characters,
It
so I just
deserves
bounce.
it deserves mention just for being an incredible feat of game design,
Mm.
where you just have a character walk in a circle. You don't even engage in the combat. You're just walking in a circle, and the way that the game is designed makes it incredibly
Engaging.
addictive and
Yeah.
engaging. And they also tie it into the story somehow. It's like part of the story that things are resetting and you're just walking in a circle.
It's also got a
It,
little
like,
bit of that
works
like
on
city
every
builder
level.
energy too,
Yeah,
which is
Yeah.
like
yeah,
one of my
with,
favorite genres.
Yeah, when you get certain like mountain or grassland tiles, you can stack them next to each other to get more health and more armor. And when you get like a certain amount a chunk with them, then they like can combine into things to give you a bigger buff. Or if you surround a certain like building or structure with them, it does it. It's really interesting how it handles you designing the environment around you with those aspects to it.
It was really interesting playing it and then thinking, what I'm about to say sounds like an insult, but allow me to explain. It reminds me of a mobile game in the sense that what you'll see a lot of mobile games do is like, oh, there's city building mechanics and all sorts of other stuff going on, but the main gameplay loop is like a match 3 puzzle game or something like that. So they like take a really simple loop and just try and stretch it out for as long as they possibly can. And in a lot of ways, this is like the best example of that, of a really simple, I'm just walking in a circle, but they keep it so interesting and engaging throughout, and it works on every layer. It's fascinating. Fascinating.
All right. Well, speaking of fascinating, Wyatt, you're our next person to pick. So go ahead and take your pick of what
Alrighty.
you want to give out.
Are we still sticking it to the goofy fun?
No, whatever you want from the
Optional.
list. It could be
Okay.
fun or normal.
Okay. Let's do best soundtrack. Best score.
Great pick.
My pick was the Starfield score by Anand Zur. Now, however you may feel about Starfield as a video game, I think most anyone that has a pair of ears can agree that the score for it was incredibly well done. It's got this beautiful, like, ethereal sound to it. It sounds very like mysterious. It kind of fits in with
There's something with
Starfield's
space
theme of,
games
like,
always having
exploration.
killer soundtracks.
It's like water levels in video games, how they always get the best music.
Yeah.
It's
Best
just so
music
well
and worst
done.
mechanics.
Even and like there's some tracks that remind me of like classic Star Wars tracks too. It's so it's the thing I've listened to the most this year. There's plenty of episodes of the podcast that we've done last year that I was just listening to it while we were chatting because it's just such a pleasant, lovely sound. Super, super well done.
All right, who's got one to
Best
talk about?
soundtrack. It's too easy to include Hi-Fi Rush here, so I didn't.
But it does make sense.
Yep.
Oh god, they're
I knew
not only
someone was gonna
mixed,
put it here.
not only the mix of their bass soundtrack where they got all the really good music from other artists, like especially Nine Inch Nails coming in constantly.
The funniest boss
Awesome.
moves ever.
Awesome.
But also the intro music, which I believe was Lonely Boy.
Yeah, by the Black Keys.
And then, oh my god, like this is also, saying nothing about their streamer-friendly version of the game, which has like original semi-knockoff versions of the songs, but they're all just like that
They're all
soundtrack by
bangers,
itself
too.
is so
Like,
good. Yeah.
It's really impressive. Yeah, I'll jump in next because I picked the other music-related game here, Stray Gods. So Stray Gods for me, this was like best soundtrack was really hard because I think Hi-Fi Rush did a really good job. But Stray Gods is for those who don't know, because this game kind of flew under the radar. It's the musical like RPG thing. It's basically like a choice-based Telltale style game, but you have every choice is basically music. So you end up playing these like musical numbers as your main character. And as you're doing them, you can like change the song to go along one of 3 different paths, and then those paths will branch into other ones. And
It's like your
really
choice changes
well
the
done.
genre, right?
Yeah, a lot of them change the genre. A lot of them will just change like the theme of the song. And you'll end up carrying those choices forward into like future songs where like it'll call back and have leitmotifs, but it will be of what the songs you picked were, because they're not always the same motifs as you're going through them. It's just really impressive. I think the soundtrack for that game is phenomenal. It's not really anywhere else on this list, I think, in terms of like, it isn't an insane game design for me. It was also most memorable, but I think it was just very much a wacky game that came out, flew under the radar, and just had a killer soundtrack.
It also has like half the cast of Critical Role in it.
Yeah, like the only negative to the soundtrack is that
Yeah.
this is like a light negative, is that most of the people in the cast are primarily voice actors and not singers, and you can kind of tell like none of them do a bad job, but you can tell that it's not like professional singers doing the songs. Because they also have to do regular voice acting during the talking scene. So I get why they did that, but it definitely is noticeable in the musical numbers that like Laura Bailey's range is not as huge as someone who would be a professional singer. So it's noticeable, but it is really, really good still.
All right, I can talk next.
Do it.
Okay. My sweep begins. For this one, for me, I'm giving it to Baldur's Gate 3, soundtrack done by Borislav Slavov. Bangers, every single one of them. I listen to it in my free time. It might not be as involved as Stray Gods and Hi-Fi Rush into the story. I just think it's beautiful music. He knocked it out of the park in Divinity Original Sin 2, and it's right up there with it with Baldur's Gate 3.
It gets a lot of work done with leitmotif. there is a
Yeah.
lot of songs there that have like the title theme in them, but it's still very good.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I put a game from 2009 that I played for the first time last year. Okay, you don't have to like Final Fantasy 13, but you do have to like the soundtrack because it's incredible, and Masashi Hamauzu does not get as much soundtrack opportunity as someone like Soken does nowadays, or Uematsu, having been the Final Fantasy soundtrack man from the start. But holy shit, he did pretty much everything, and it's just like it's crazy to have like weird like 2000s like techno rock influences, but also based in like jazz chords and stuff. And
Yeah.
just the best battle theme in the franchise. Like,
13's got
full stop.
fantastic music. It's also the #1 soundtrack I tend to play in the musical rhythm game for Final
Nice.
Fantasy.
It
Has really good theater rhythm tracks.
It's such a good soundtrack. I listen to that in my free time as well, because thankfully it's everywhere, because Square Enix has finally realized that people want to listen to the music they make.
I was really tempted to put the rhythm
yeah.
for best soundtrack, but I felt like that would be cheating because it's just the soundtrack
would
of every
be.
Final Fantasy.
And Nier, and there's like Chrono
Nier.
Cross and Chrono Trigger and
Live Alive.
Xenogears in there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be cheating, but
It's true.
it's killer music. Okay, well, Alex, L. Actually, yeah.
Do I want to continue the sound theme or no? Just kidding. Game you most want to forget. Mine is a little Game Pass game that Ryan made us play, Ninja Gaiden 3.
That's very fair. That's very fair.
God, what an experience!
I'm so glad I made you play it. And Alex, I can't wait for you to play Wolong.
I'm excited to play Wolong. I can't
You might
wait
be really
either.
good at it. Now you're a Souls person. It made
Yeah,
the
you've
effect that I
changed.
want.
You've grown in the last year, Alex. You've improved.
You had your
Best
training
character
arc.
arc. Best character
Yeah.
arc out of the 5 of us goes to Alex for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, I'm gonna throw out the low-hanging fruit for this one. For Spoken. Like,
Yeah.
Is it
I-
low hanging
yeah,
fruit? I've
yeah.
got low hanging fruit too.
I
you
didn't
do,
actually
but that
play it.
fruit, I think it makes me more sad, and I did forget it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard to say I want to forget it if I actively did.
I didn't
Forspoken, I
actually
think
play
about. I think about Forspoken all the time in my mind.
I'll never
just like,
forget it.
I
wishing-
didn't
I'll
actually
never
play
forget it.
Forspoken, so my conscience isn't weighed upon as heavily for having to actively experience it.
Yeah,
It is so hilariously bad.
because the problem with
I don't want to
Forspoken
forget it. It's funny.
is I know I am going to break down and buy the game at some point and play it.
No.
I know that's
No.
going to
Why?
happen.
When it's like $3.
Why?
When it's
No,
like
I know.
$3.
This
It will be
is
$3.
this is Alex with Suicide Squad. Why?
Because I love magic systems in games, and I'm not confident enough in Forspoken's magic system not being good. Like, because I haven't played more than the demo, right? So I don't know that it actually is bad. I think the demo magic might just be the bad. They might have given you bad stuff to work with. Because every
look
time
at
I
the-
hear that game talked about, people say the gameplay's good. It's everything else that's bad. So
Would you really want to play with that magic system in a one like biome map that looks like a default Unity forest?
I will skip every cutscene and just bum rush it.
Did I just do that
Ryan.
with my freaking mind?
Alright, who's
Alright,
next?
I'm gonna save Ryan the embarrassment. I'm gonna get him out of here. I'm gonna save him. Mine was Atomic Heart. Now, to be clear, I played this on Game Pass. I didn't actually like put money down for this, but I was curious because it was inspired by BioShock System Shock, and it seemed like it had a fairly interesting setting for that kind of game.
A lot of hype too. This game had
A lot of
Yeah,
hype. Yeah, it's a cool looking
Weirdly,
game.
in my opinion.
Because
It's a
it had
cool
shown
looking-
like really cool designs for years,
Yeah.
and people have been following it.
And the combat looked neat. So here's the thing about this game, right? There's an extended period right at the beginning of the game, like when the gameplay proper starts, where it's more linear. You're going from room to room, and it's got a lot of that like typical BioShock System Shock stuff that you've come to know and love, and it does it really well. There's some cool mechanics here. The weapons sound great. It's a good looking game. There's some cool enemy types. The game completely falls apart once the like open world stuff starts. There's this really obnoxious system where there's like security cameras, and if they even catch a slight glimpse of you, they send a bunch of like swarm robots after you. And these cameras are everywhere, and it's such a huge area, and it just feels like nothing in the game was designed for an open world, but they decided to just slap it on there anyway. And it was really disappointing because I was actually really into it at first. The main character was super annoying, but gameplay wise I was actually getting into it. And so it's more like I want to forget this game. I want to forget when I got to the open world part of this game, because everything before that was kind of fun. And then you meet an old lady who has a giant house with robot legs called Baba Yaga, and it was really funny and quirky, and I thought it was kind of neat. And then the game just falls apart, and it made me really sad. And I like walked away angry, basically.
How sad. What a
Right.
category
Yep.
to make us all sad.
That's why it's here. And why I'm here is to be the person that puts the controversial game in this category, but I don't think it's as controversial as it could have been in a better world.
Mm.
But I don't know. Starfield is very boring for me, and I know I'm not the only one on planet Earth that thinks that. It's actually a strangely
You're not in
popular
the
opinion
minority.
for some reason.
You're not in the minority, that's for sure.
I recognize that quality got put into the game, but I feel like it was like spread as thin as it could possibly go before just breaking completely. Because things look nice until you get really close, and things sound pretty good. But I was very very bored and pretty disappointed because I was looking for it to be my first foray into this whole Bethesda thing that people keep talking about, and I was very very unimpressed.
So I'm curious now, Brett.
and-
You've played now Starfield and 2 other Elder Scrolls games. Is Oblivion top of the list?
Yeah, probably. Because that one I'll actually play again, and it isn't 5 quadrillion terabytes, so I can actually play it again. Whereas for Starfield, I'd have to get rid of games I actually enjoy playing, which is not going to happen. So And Morrowind is unfortunately base Morrowind, so it can stay there too.
All right, Alex, you're the last one.
All right, another Game Pass game. I think this was a Game Pass game.
Yes, thank goodness.
I know we streamed it at least.
Yeah, it was
Thank God we
good.
didn't have to pay money for it.
Oh.
Mine is Redfall, a game that
Yeah. Yeah.
could have been something good, something fun. You know, a studio that's made interesting stuff before. Concept fairly interesting. I mean, who doesn't love vampires?
But
It was
in
bad.
this in
was
this
bad.
kind of game, I don't know. It seems scuffed from the start. I will forever
Bad. It was
fucking.
truly boring. Yet I talked to another friend who had an polar opposite experience. Still thought the game was awful, but like the gameplay was like wildly different. And I was like, so
A
which
different
one of
kind
us
of
had
bad.
the bunged? Which one of us had the bugged experience? Was it us who never saw an enemy hardly ever between set zones?
We
Or
literally
was
spent
really-
like 10
couldn't-
minutes looking for something to fight. It was infuriating. Like
That was the
And
most
I-
shocking
God.
thing about that game, is that there
And,
was
like,
just nothing.
Every
Day
copy
afterward,
of Redfall is
I was-
personalized.
Yeah, exactly. Day afterwards, I was talking to a friend who said like he couldn't go 5 feet without getting attacked by something. So I was like, okay, so which one of us had the bugged experience? Like, what was
Both of you.
What's the desired experience here?
I mean-
we'll never
I mean,
know
that's the
because I'm
thing.
not reinstalling it.
I mean, that's the thing. Like you can call Starfield empty all you want. It's got nothing on Redfall. That's
Yeah.
empty. That's an empty game right there.
And Starfield
Yeah,
is a
and
game about
if-
space that accurately portrays the distance between planets.
all right.
Uh,
Alex, what's your category you want to talk about?
This Alex?
Yeah,
Right?
the one that
Yes.
didn't just pick the category.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I'm trying to remember things here.
uh,
I'm gonna go with. I'm kind of curious about what you think about this, Ryan. So I want to hear. I'm gonna go with biggest waste of potential. We'll get the other depressing one out of the way.
Mm,
Oh, you
Oh.
wanted to talk about this
yeah.
one, didn't you?
So this is a tough one. I think yours is gonna be the longest of what we have, Alex. So let's have Brett and I go first. And I'll say,
Yeah.
Brett, you have the one that's not in the same universe. Go ahead and take yours.
Yeah,
Huh.
weird how that happens, huh? I was skeptical before Wild Hearts came out because it's not the first time that another team has tried to, do Monster Hunter but their own spin on it. And my last experience of that was the I don't even remember what it was called, the Epic Games Monster Hunter that I think is still running.
Dauntless.
And it was terrible. And I did not like it at all. And even I was very skeptical, but then as it got closer to release, a couple of my Monster Hunter friends, Ryan, you included, were like, "Oh no, actually, like this is exciting looking. This looks like it could bring new things to the table for like an
And to
actual
clarify, it
competitor."
did. That's
And it
not
did,
the disappointing
which is
part.
incredible. It released and it was pretty buggy, especially with crossplay stuff, but it had crossplay.
Like we
which
were
Monster
able to
Hunter
play
Rise
it
doesn't
like
even.
week of very easily together.
There were some like story sync issues, and every so often like a save file would corrupt or something, and we were like, okay, this
Oh.
is fine. It's not the end of the world because
Like I'll note, we have like a 2-hour-long video of you and I playing this game, and we're having a blast. Like we really enjoyed
just
this.
having just fun the whole time. Like the all of the monsters were cool. And then
The weapons are cool.
The weapons are cool. The like little buildable blocks and like weapons and things that you can place down were all awesome. And it's very clear that like, yeah, okay, end game stuff. You really start to see that they just do like different colors of the same thing over and over, and it's not as polished as it could be, and it's a little weird in certain places, but in certain other places it's like you could tell they looked at Monster Hunter and were like, how do we optimize this better and stuff like that. And the general consensus between everyone who I played it was, this is really good, I can't wait to see what they do with it to make it perfect. Like a sequel or an expansion or something would be great. And because it's EA and it didn't sell gangbusters 1 second in, because why fucking would it? They dropped all support for it, and that's probably the last we're going to see of this property ever, which is a damn shame because it had a
Really
lot of
sad.
potential and was super fun. I really,
AAA
really like
publisher
that game.
classic.
Yep, especially the EA classic of shutting things down. Ugh.
Ugh. Ugh.
It looks like there is another
Wyatt, you got one more that's
edition
not-
before the doubleheader.
A new spawn.
Yeah,
double
yeah.
feature over here. So
Yeah. So I put Exoprimal on here. To be clear, Exoprimal is a stupid idea, but a amazing idea for a video game. And I do not understand. This is one of those games. Why the hell was this a live service game? This game has absolutely no right being a live service game. It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. It feels tacked on. It feels arbitrary. And it ruined what could have been just a really fun, more fully featured, like, dumb co-op game that felt like something that was made for the Xbox 360. And for some ungodly reason, it's a live service, like, looter shooter thing when it really shouldn't have been. And that makes me
now
so
it doesn't
sad.
have any players anymore.
And now it doesn't have any
Oh.
players because
Wait, literally?
Yes! There's like nobody
Oh.
left playing it.
Oh.
which is a shame because Exoprimal. So something I learned after the fact. So we were complaining about variety. The variety's there. They just lock it behind doing tons of the missions.
Really? That's whack.
Yeah, so there are like
Well, at
raid
least it's
bosses in that
missions
game
and
that
not-
you get to
Oh.
that look really cool.
That would have been good to know.
But it's just you're locked. The story progresses by doing multiplayer matches, and if people get
That's
are like,
so
well,
much-
a bad
and
idea.
so much of your progression in terms of like unlocking content or unlocking gear or whatever is throttled because it's this like live service game. If it wasn't that and it was just focused on having fun, fuck it, make it split screen. Like, do you know how many people would love to boot a game up like this on their PS5 and just play this with their buddy split screen? That's really what it should have been. It's just so frustrating.
What, you've talked about it being live service. You haven't mentioned the fact that it's a team-based horde shooter that is competitive. Like that's the weirdest thing. Like,
yes, there's weird like PvP elements. It feels like they had this dumb concept, and it almost felt like they were embarrassed by their own concept, and so they tried to like make it this like weird genre blend. No. This is a game where you run around in giant mechs and you fight dinosaurs.
Don't be ashamed of that.
You
legitimately
don't have
just
to
cut the other team
overcomplicate
out,
this.
and you would probably have a killer single-player game or like
absolutely.
co-op game.
You
But
don't
instead
have
it was
to
like-
overcomplicate things.
But
I don't
instead
understand.
they made it
According to
Gambit
Steam
with
database, there's 411 people playing it right now.
Oh.
Well,
That's
clearly
still
our
more-
stream is more
hey.
influential than we think.
Hey, that is still more players than Redfall. You give it some goddamn respect.
Actually, let's find out.
What's Redfall
It's
at?
gotta be.
Literally,
It's
there
gotta
was
be.
like 2 people at one point.
Yeah, Exoprimal
Oh,
has
yeah.
405 players in game on Steam right now. So
Now we have a brief intermission to check out some gaming
Oh,
statistics.
Redfall is 44.
okay, well, on that depressing note, let's move to the double feature. I'm gonna take the one that is not as bad, which is Lord of the Rings: Return to Moria. So this
I'm
is
really curious about this because I wanted to play this game and I haven't gotten a
Okay.
chance yet.
So I'm gonna say
yeah.
this game is in this category for me, not because it's bad. I actually think Return to Moria has the bones and the structure of a really good survival game. Specifically one about exploration and like exploring an area. But I think there's just like there is a huge disconnect with I think the pitch of Lord of the Rings and the design of lonely survival game. And I really wish they had leaned into like having AI buddies or something, like actually returning dwarves to the area and not doing like, Return to Moria. You imagine you're going to build like a cool dwarf settlement or something. But instead it's super lonely and like super alone, and it's very cool. It's a fun game, but it's locked on the Epic Store and sold terribly. It reviewed really poorly, which I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the reviews for this game. I think a lot of them are just more negative than they probably need to be, because a lot of the points that apply to it also apply to games like Valheim and basically every game in the survival genre. I think a lot of people reviewed it that are not survival game players and are more just Lord of the Rings fans, and that led to people scoring it a lot lower than it probably would have if the people talking about it were like Ark fans or more survival game people. But yeah, it's just kind of a disappointing thing because I imagine that game's just kind of gonna die on the Epic Store. Maybe we'll see like a resurgence when it comes out on Steam, but
If it comes out on Steam.
if it comes out on Steam, yeah.
Cool.
Well, speaking of Lord of the Rings and disappointing games, my pick for this category was Gollum. Somebody who I assume is maybe Brett said you're crazy for this in our in our Excel spreadsheet here.
Because what potential did it have?
So
Who would ever want to play this game?
hang on, Brett. I'm on Alex's side with this.
The potential it has is like just like the world and lore of Lord of the Rings is such a rich environment with so
And you
much
want to play a
storytelling.
stealth game as Gollum?
Well, okay.
I've
So
played
I'm not
a stealth
saying
game
that
with a character
necessarily-
like Gollum before.
Yeah, look at like Styx or something. Like the
Yes, that's
gameplay
exactly
can be
what I was
done.
thinking about.
And Gollum is a character, it's a weird character to pick for sure. But he's a character who's so involved with so many of the important events of Lord of the Rings, so tied to the plot of the ring and everything, that I think it could, given the right team and the right treatment, there could be something there that could be interesting to explore. Now, I'm not sure really if it is worth trying again or anything like that.
I don't know about that. Yeah,
But what I'm saying is, like, I think there is something to that idea, and this game ain't it.
It just not landed.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there's hardly like a Gollum is just so tied to what's the sort of the back end of what's going on in Lord of the Rings that I can see where the idea came from to what could a game from that perspective look like.
All right. On that note, it's my turn to pick, so I'm going to take us to best first impression, because I think there were a lot of games in this category this year that were really good. For me, the one that really made a difference was Final Fantasy 16. I think Final Fantasy 16's demo especially has a really, really strong first impression, especially compared to like Final Fantasy 15, although that game had a decent first impression. I think 16 comes out swinging and like really sells you on the world and the characters and the setting, and I think it just does a really good job of that. I think that's probably like the best part of the game, even though I really like 16. I think that opening is just everything that Creative Business Unit 3 does really well is just showcased there. It's really good.
I'll go next. This one's a bit of a shared entry. That first boss fight in Spider-Man 2 is fan-fucking-tastic. It's a giant Sandman fight. He can punch you several city blocks away from the arena. It switches it up constantly, so sometimes you're swinging around a giant boss, other times you're going in between buildings and fighting smaller enemies, and it's got everything. It's just it's fantastic.
It's a very close second for me.
It's got everything you want in a Spider-Man game condensed into a single opening mission. It's so well done.
It probably would be my
Spider-Man
pick
2
too
as
if
well.
I hadn't started playing it yet.
And I thought it was incredible, and I really love all of that game. I think the only thing I could really ask for, well, I think we had an episode where I asked for a lot more than that, but really, I hope that if they do DLC to that game or something, we get another real, like, showcase fight like that.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's got everything. It's got on-foot combat. It's got these giant like boss fight moments. You're also switching between Miles and Peter at like a good pace, and they're both using their abilities in unique ways to like take down the boss. Fantastic. fantastic.
He's it's also just a great way that they use to introduce so much of the mechanics of the game.
Yeah, very well done.
Alex or Brett, one of you two gotta go.
You first.
Hello, everybody. It's me again, playing games that didn't come out this year in the best year of video games of the last 20 years. I played Persona 4 Golden for the first time actually this year. I think we did a Game Pass episode on it at some point, but I didn't sit down and play a larger chunk of it until a little more recently. I still haven't finished it, but I really, out of all the Persona games that I've played, to me it has the best start, and just that lonely, foggy, rainy town
It's got
is just a
vibes.
it's got vibes to it that I don't really see replicated or even being attempted to be replicated in other games. And just comparing that uh to 3, where it's the setting is cool but there's a lot of waiting, or 5 where there is even more waiting and the setting is just literally where I'm living in real life right now and I don't want to play that in a video game. 4 is very comfy and very chill, and I kind of like to see more games have a foggy town concept besides it and Silent Hill and literally nothing else.
Oh
It would be
boy, Brett, do
nice.
I have a Professor Layton game to show you?
Go me. Go me. And that'll be on next year's list.
Alex, you're the last one.
Alrighty. The game that I'm picking for best first impression, because I definitely wanted to showcase a lot more of the indie games that we played through Game Pass, was Unguard, which was originally, and this is one of the main reasons why it got best first impression for me, was it was originally a student game that was made for a school project that the team took further into a full release, and
Thank God they did, because
it
it is
is
so much fun.
it is some incredibly fun hack and slashy but still fencing style sword combat that you get with it. There's some wonderful environmental interactions with the specialty of the kicking things to interact with them. Which what was the game that did that? Dark Messiah, was that?
Yeah, Dark
Yeah.
Messiah Magic.
It's fun to see that in a game that looks significantly better and has a wonderful art style to it as
Yeah,
well.
Might and Magic is
Absolutely.
8 years and years old. It's a early 2000s game, I think.
I think it's aged better than how old it actually is. But
Yeah, it has, but-
it's definitely aged for sure.
Unguard definitely takes that spirit into modern games.
And runs with the goofiness a lot more, which I
Oh,
like.
it's supremely goofy. It
Yeah.
has some wonderful sense of humor to it.
It's
All right.
endearingly corny is the way I'd put it.
Brett, it's your pick again.
Oh my God. Well,
So much power.
I know, and we still have so many good categories to go through. Let's see. Let's go with. I feel like we're gonna have a lot to say about best voice acting, so why don't we get
Absolutely.
that out of the way? Because this year it's a really good year for voice acting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My sweep begins. The surprise to nobody that Armored Core 6 will appear very often during this podcast episode. But there's something to be said about how many fan designs and interpretations of characters can be made of characters that you never see the bodies of. You only see their armored cores, and you only hear their voice, and you see their little emblem in cutscenes. That's all they're represented by. So your best buddy Rusty,
He won't miss.
all the yes,
able to
all
pick
the
up.
other what.
Oh, not able to pick up any giblets if they explode. No
No.
giblet.
No giblets. All the representatives from the corporations and stuff. Air, the funny lady in your head that calls you stud muffin the whole game. They're all just voices with no physical representation other than the giant robots, but they're acted and just written in such like crazy good ways that like the one-liners all hit and their personalities are all different and they all come through for how little like screen time their voices have, and because of that, I mean, people come up with and like agree that yes, of course, All Mind will be the Japanese business lady, and there was not a single argument against that. Everyone has agreed that that is how she will be represented in any piece of fan art ever. It's I've never seen that happen with a game before, and I feel like that it just comes down to really really good performances from the whole entire side cast.
I feel like Walter as well also does some heavy like double lifting when it comes to the with the choices that you make in the game.
Oh, for sure,
Helping
yeah.
you personify your own world's okayest lobotomite.
Yes,
Absolutely.
which is a really tough thing to do, and they do it so well.
All right, we got two of you that picked Baldur's Gate 3. So
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Come on. It's unfortunately also goes hand in hand with like several other categories where there's a lot of really good voice actors. One of which who won it at the Game Awards, which is
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
to see too.
Deserved it.
And then was promptly shooed off stage.
True.
But
If he was here, I wouldn't shoo him off stage.
Absolutely not.
everyone
True.
has so much character. Like all like not to mention like just the ensemble cast as well, but side characters as well. Just like
Mhm.
little
Some of the
conversations
villains, like
that you hear.
Ketherick Thorn.
Oh
incredible.
yes. Oh, they have some wonderful choices. J.K. Simmons is always a fantastic.
Amelia
Even a
Tyler,
lot of the-
narrator, incredible.
Yes.
Incredible.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
watched another one of her outtake videos yesterday.
They're very good.
Also,
He-
even some of the super minor characters, like certain goblins that have one line and whatnot, it's probably the same as 19 other goblins, but it's funny, well written, and well voice acted, memorable.
My
The whole
for my
game's
You're
like
talking
very
about
for my very like limited time with the game, one thing I've noticed is that I feel like a lot of games have that one side character that doesn't get a lot of voice lines, but you can tell that the voice actor is like putting in every ounce of effort. They're just giving it 110%. In my very limited time playing Baldur's Gate 3, I feel like there's so many of those side characters that like don't have a lot to do or say, but when they do say things, you're like, wow, they're giving it 110%. Like
the trick
there's
is
not
too.
for me, that's the Inspector Holophant that you meet in Act 3.
Oh,
what
yeah.
a wonderful guy.
Some of the characters who you think are one or two liners in Act 1 do show up again later, even in like
yeah.
Act 3 or something. Like they
Ooh.
also happen to go to the city and you can run into them again or something.
Oh.
And still, they probably only have a couple lines of dialogue there, but
also you feel like your choices matter, which is
oh yeah.
perfect. Amazing thing for a game to be able to capture.
All right, you know what else is great for a game to be able to capture? Ben fucking Starr.
Motherfucking star.
Ben Starr is my title character for this, just because my title voice actor for this for Final Fantasy 16, because I think he is the standoutest of standout performances. Does such a good job, but the entire voice cast of Final Fantasy 16 is incredible.
Absolutely.
Everyone in that game puts 100% in. Ben Starr is just like, you hear so much of him being a Clive's story, and he's Clive's voice. You just hear so much, and he puts everything into lines. Like, I think he has the single most like impactful line delivery I've heard, which is him just screaming, "I'll fucking kill you," at the end of the demo. And I think anyone that's played that line is so good.
That's the hook for the game.
That is the
It's
hook
so
line.
good.
That's why I picked it as best first impression. Like, that is
Yeah.
so strong.
And the other thing too with him is that there's a lot of moments where it's very understated. He's not yelling a lot. He's not it comes off as very like monotone at first, but the more you learn about Clive as a character and the more you play through the game, you realize there's actually a lot of subtle things going on when he's just
Yeah.
talking to people. And
He's
it's
not
not
anime
something that you.
protagonisting it.
No, it's really subtle and so well done. So
Yeah.
well done.
I compared a lot to like V and Cyberpunk. Both the male and female
Ah.
voice actors
Mhm.
do a great job of doing that, like stoic protagonist that gets emotional and you like unleash when you do. And I think it's such a cool contrast.
It's
It
intentionally
works really
stoic
well.
and it's layered in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and it changes over the course of the game, being that like you have Clive at the 3 points of his life that the game takes place in, and he does such a good job of like capturing that like different energy at each time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Ben started great.
So I I struggled with this one because I wanted to also just say Ben fucking Star because he does such a good job. But again, we want to try it and shed a light on more than we don't want things to sweep too much. I did put Yuri Lowenthal on my list because I truly do think he gave such an amazing performance as Spider-Man. Like I would say like he did such a good job in the first game, but I would say here I feel like he has a little bit more emotional stuff to work with here to chew on, and he just does such an incredible like there's also a few moments similar to Ben Starr where like there's one really impactful like line and you're like whoa, like it kind of hits you, and it really stands out. I didn't want to put the full cast here, not that anyone does a bad job in Spider-Man 2. I think everyone does a great job, but I don't think in terms of like consistent high quality, I don't think it quite reaches Final Fantasy 16. But I just wanted to shout out Yuri Lowenthal specifically because I have a hard time deciding between him and Ben Starr in terms of you know who gave the best performance. But it's just so well done.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Wyatt, it's your pick for category.
Alrighty, let's do biggest surprise. This is a
Very
fun
fun.
one. This is a fun one. I picked the finals because this game quite literally came out of nowhere. It was announced there were early betas and people are like, "Yo, this game's pretty cool. What is this?" Then the public beta hit and it was all over. This game was blowing people's minds left and right for a brand new studio. It's made up of industry veterans, but for a brand new studio to come out with a project that is so fresh and unique and one that made such an impact right out of the gate with people, and one that just caught everyone's attention so quickly. And the full release was also great because it is the year of our Lord 2023. We have a live service multiplayer FPS that A launched in a good state with just enough content, and B had a live service model that didn't feel too predatory and was one that overall I would say is
And
a
Wyatt,
pretty well designed
we're
model.
forgetting C, which is it has new game modes. It isn't a
Yes.
battle royale, and it isn't like a standard thing. It has its own unique game modes that work really well
It
for
is
it.
And
It is so
D.
unique. It is so
Or
unique.
destructible environment.
It was really funny watching both people online and people that I know personally try and describe it to people, and you can't without you just watching gameplay of it because that's just how much of its own thing that it is. It's so difficult to describe what makes it fun. The amount of like server side destruction is not only really impressive, but again impressive for a new studio hot off the press of their first new game, but it's also one that contributes a lot to the match as well. It isn't
Yeah.
just this fun little nice coat of paint. There's actually a lot of strategy that goes into it as well. It just came out of nowhere and surprised everyone, and still has a really healthy community. Still, it's just fantastic.
Yeah. I can hop in with Star Ocean Second Story R. This is a game I was pretty excited for as soon as it was announced, but I didn't expect to actually make time to play it this year. I started it. I didn't actually finish it yet, but it really surprised me in how much I was enjoying Star Ocean 2, essentially, because it's a remake of 2. But Second Story R, I think, is hitting like basically everything that I really like about JRPGs that are a bit lighter in tone and not super pressing. There's no like huge pressing threat. It's mostly just a fun jaunt through the world, and I'm really enjoying doing that because the characters are great and the gameplay's good. There's tons of skills that you can use and like life skills to do crafting and all sorts of just fun little inane mechanics. You can fish, very important. You can compose orchestra music, which is great. Just like wild,
That's
weird
pretty cool.
things. Yeah, there's like a list of 20 or 30 of these like strange little things that you have access to that are all very fun and just like wacky skills that you can do in the world, and they make it very easy to like customize it to your liking and do lots of different stuff, and I like that a lot. It's also got dual protagonists and that you can pick one of them, and the choice matters, unlike a game that will probably get talked about.
Yup. Eventually. And one of them has blue hair, and one of them has not blue hair. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
So
wild.
sad.
One of them
Like-
is blue, one of them has slightly light blonde hair.
Like, do they have pronouns?
Everyone has pronouns. It comes free with English.
It comes free with the English language, baby.
Blue hair and
Fucking pronouns, gender
Pronouns.
ambiguity, modern day California shit.
At least Starfield gave us that.
I want to be really
so
clear
well.
that none of us are right.
Yeah. To be clear, we are
Definitely
making fun of everything we just said.
We're taking the
Clear.
piss.
To be clear, we are making fun of a very, very dumb individual.
Yeah.
Of a very baby-faced 50-year-old man.
All right.
Anyway.
Oh my god.
So I knew I played the early access for Lunacid a while before it came out, but I was not expecting the full release of the game to completely absorb my life for like a week, because it was just like the only thing that I wanted to play when it came out. It came out on Halloween, and I was like, "Oh, sick! This will probably be fun." And I just didn't stop until I got every single ending, like a couple days later. It's crazy what you can do with like the simple first-person dungeon crawler formula nowadays, and it just doesn't get boring. I mean, to be fair, the single-person developer, Akuma Kiria, threw in like everything that they could, just like a bunch of weird, crazy stuff. Also the setting of it being in like it's a fantasy world with like dark magic and stuff, but it's built on like the melted burnt ashes of like our civilization, so you can find like an ancient VHS tape and shit like that. It's super cool. I love when stuff like that happens, and it just
Fantastic world building.
even from something I was already expecting to enjoy, it really it just surprised me with how well it knocked everything out of the park completely.
So this game is inspired by Kingsfield, right? Or is it like an homage
Yes.
to what's the? Does it have its own version of the Moonlight Greatsword?
Yeah, of course. And it is one of the
Wonderful.
best weapons in the game. You can also
Of
change the
course.
compass on the top to look and function exactly like the Kingsfield compass.
perfect.
And Kira's in the middle of developing tank controls.
My
They don't really
God.
work yet, but they're only in their first version of the implementation, so I hope they actually make them work, because I will replay it again with tank controls.
Wild.
All right, Alex and Alex.
Finals.
What's next?
Well, speaking of people who hate pronouns,
Oh,
my
that's right.
Terrible
biggest
start to that
surprise for
sentence.
this year.
That's
My biggest
crazy.
Wow.
What an amazing segue.
Wow.
Dude, it's pat on the back for that one.
You get an award for
Honestly,
best
I
segue.
was sitting there the whole time on Lunacid. I was like, I gotta say this.
that's incredible.
That's incredible.
Phenomenal.
My
Wow.
biggest surprise for this year was Hogwarts Legacy. I did not play it until like literally like within the last couple of weeks, because I didn't buy it at launch for a couple of reasons.
For the J.K. Rowling reason. Let's be very clear about
yeah,
that.
yes,
We
we
don't
can-
have to be coy.
for the J.K. Rowling reason primarily. I also
Just
just
kidding,
didn't.
Rowling.
I didn't really expect a Harry Potter Hogwarts themed game to be as good as this is. You know, I've played Harry Potter games before, but they were all sort of tie-in kind of. I don't want to say shovelware, but pretty much. And so this, my partner works at a used bookstore slash thrift store kind of thing. Came in, somebody sold it. We got it for
Oh,
$15 or less or something. So I said, all right.
nice.
Well, let's give it a try. And I was like, whoa, this game. I don't know. I haven't heard a lot about it. Maybe it was just that nobody I knew was really playing it a ton when it came out, but the world they've made and fleshed out here is really well done, and the magic system is really snappy and works really well.
Yeah,
Besides
echo
the
what you're saying on
glaring
this.
J.K. Rowling reason to not play the game, I'd say absolutely give it a try.
Yeah,
'cause
obviously
it's,
screw J.K. Rowling, but the game itself is very good. Very well
Yeah.
done. I really hope it gets a sequel and they actually get to iterate on all of this stuff. I'm
I
sure
really
it
hope
will,
it gets Quidditch in it at some point.
If what?
Oh, I said I really hope it gets Quidditch in it at some point.
Yeah, like there's a couple
Yeah.
weird,
Please.
glaring, like missing things. But I think a lot of it, the game is good. The magic system's good. I just love games that have good magic combat that isn't just the regular Skyrim point and a spell shoots out.
I was going to say, this is actually, I think, one of the better spell systems in recent years that I have played with. It's pretty simple.
The actual system is really good. And yeah, it's a solid game. It just didn't make my list because this year was so stacked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And no, Hogwarts Legacy, biggest selling game of 2023. So I think it was just...
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh my
Media,
god.
Yep.
That's
crazy.
Huge. It sold massive numbers. So yeah, a lot of people just didn't talk about it a ton. Because like, I don't know how many adult games media people are Hogwarts Legacy like big Harry Potter fans anyway. And the J.K. Rowling situation exacerbated every issue.
Yeah, I would say if you're a Harry Potter fan, or were at one point,
and you like separating art from the artist.
Exactly. Well, really, in this case,
great,
there's
like trans representation and other things.
Yeah,
like, the game itself.
This
is very
game,
much
a Harry Potter
making
game that says, "Hey, trans rights."
Yeah, I mean, the crew who worked on this game is completely disconnected from J.K.
really
Rowling.
poured their hearts into it.
But of course, J.K. Rowling's the original creator and probably has some tiny bit of royalties coming from this. I have no idea.
He already has more money than God.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the equivalent of like raining in a lake.
Yeah.
It's like it's really not gonna like.
we had a whole episode talking about this. If people want to go find it, or not a whole episode, but it was a huge chunk of an episode. So yeah.
Anyway,
Alex,
actual world and gameplay, great.
For biggest surprise, I picked Lies of P. The game that I not only counter-picked in last year.
Probably the actual biggest surprise out of all of us.
This is the game that has started my character arc that we talked about previously. This was my first Souls-like game that I was able to get into. I've played Demon's Souls a little bit, but I
made you play Mortal Shell.
Played Mortal Shell, good, but I haven't continued it. And I've played Dark Souls 1 Remastered and honestly hated it past Sense Fortress. I'm just like, oh, this isn't fun anymore. And have not been able to like it since. I've tried to pick it up again.
It's a very dated game at this point.
Still no. Lies of P was not only the first game to get me into Souls-likes, it was the first Souls-like that I finished. And then New Game Plus.
Yep.
And have now finished again.
Alex has gotten good.
We've unlocked something in him, or I should say, you guys have unlocked.
Hey,
something
Alex,
in
what are
him.
you playing right now? You're playing Elden Ring.
I am now playing Elden Ring, and I have.
And you're like a solid amount in.
You're not like.
Yeah.
I've gotten a significant amount of the plot way in. I kept.
I think you're further than I ever got.
Bunch of
you're doing an
bosses, like
optional area right now.
I kept hearing a bunch of stuff about like these really hard bosses, which to be fair, I am playing a sorcery build, which has been said to be playing the game on easy mode. But I've really been interested in like being able to play magic builds and things like that, and like this kind of play style. And I beat the fire giant on my third try without taking any damage. So that was interesting.
There you go.
See, this
And now I
proves
am spurred on to no
I
damage every
can't wait
boss,
for
and
your
I've
game
become
of the
one of
year
those
this year to be
people.
Elden Ring.
See, if you say get good enough, they will. It works, guys.
See, it's just like bullying; it builds character. No,
I feel like that's the attitude that FromSoft has in their
but
games.
oh my god,
Right.
Lies of P was a fantastic game, especially one that was able to open my eyes to a genre again that I was previously
Yeah.
butting heads with very
I would say
often.
pretty unequivocally the best non-FromSoft, like mainline Souls game.
Oh my god, it
like mainstream
looks like it
Souls
has the
game.
visual fidelity of a FromSoft game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
super well
It
produced.
looks gorgeous.
Tons of weapons, great music. Bizarrely, I would not have
Absolutely.
balked at this being
Oh,
the best soundtrack.
fantastic music! It was a very close second for best soundtrack.
All
For
right.
me, because there's also
Alex.
so much.
A lot to say about Lies of P, but I gotta kick you into
Yeah.
something else because you're gonna get to talk about it again.
I will be. Let's go with best environment.
Oh, very
Ooh.
fun.
My best environment. Thank you again, Ryan, for the points for this last fantasy critic, even though I ended up in dead last. Diablo 4. I love the look of that map. Oh my god.
It is very
Oh, all the
pretty.
areas are so fun.
Very, very pretty.
I went in there recently again. Well, not like about a month ago. I need to pick it up again. Haven't done any of the seasonal content yet, but I hear that there's some. Do environments change with the seasonal things?
It depends on the
for-
season. There's like effect changes, so no like huge changes. But you like this season, there's a bunch of vampires that you go around and find. This coming season, there's a bunch of like golem
but-
stuff.
Okay, yeah, Ryan, but
the-
what do you know about Diablo 4? Come on.
Okay, well now that
Nothing.
you said it, I have to reiterate. I work on
Yeah.
Diablo 4. Opinions are my own and not representative of Blizzard Entertainment. Continue your conversation.
So the
You're welcome.
I just went around a month ago and I was just like basking in how aesthetic the desert areas were, and then the awful swamp areas that I kept getting caught in skeleton traps by.
Yeah, I probably put them there.
It's like the best dingiest place, even when it's sunny out in those rare places that I just wanna keep going back to and exploring, and absolutely steamrolling people in World Tier 2 with my Bloodbarian build, because I'm definitely not strong enough for World Tier 3.
I'll go next. So I picked the entirety of Hyrule for from Tears of the Kingdom, just the whole thing. Because not only do I think it's drenched in an absolutely gorgeous art style, and there's so much character and life given to even the smallest areas of that map, but because of the emergent gameplay, it's so interactable. There's just so many wacky, stupid things you can do in almost every part of that map. Like it has just because of how you can interact with it in terms of like non-survival games. It has to be one of the most like interactable open world adventure games I've ever seen.
I chose the same thing. Hyrule, and specifically for me, I actually want to talk a little bit more about the depths because I think the depths are a really, really killer. Like it's one biome basically across the whole map, but I think it's super cool that it's all in like darkness and you have to explore and use light.
And it's the
like,
map that's
actually,
inverted as
it's
far as like
inverted,
water
yeah,
and
like
mountains
it
go.
actually relates to the world above, and it's just super interesting. Yeah,
You can also use it as a way to find shrines because
I love the gumption to have the depths.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool once you figure out that like any shrine that you find in the regular like Hyrule layer also directly connects to one of the routes down under. So if you like, oh, I can't find where I can't like look where I'm going, you can always see it in the map above you. Oh, I found a shrine nearby here. There's probably going to be like a route system somewhere near there that helps light up the area. And as well, I do feel like in the grand scheme of things it is a little underbaked, but the Sky Islands are gorgeous. They're super cool looking. There's tons of unique like plant life and stuff. It's a good way to hunt for zonai charges. A little underbaked, like I said. I kind of wish they had done a little bit more with it, but
I think
it's
almost part of that is that they seem to advertise the Sky Islands a bunch.
Yeah, they
And
always started at the Sky Islands, and they were kind of the least important part of the
They
game.
never talked about the depths, which I like because it was kind of a big surprise.
That fun little
Oh, I'm fine with
not
that.
little
I just
secret.
wish, because like for me, just visually, I think they look so cool, and I think there's so much that they could have done with it that they just didn't, especially because there's so much
play Skyward
free
Sword.
space. But I have. Don't worry, I played Skyward Sword in preparation. But no, I just every inch of that game, it's so gorgeous, and every inch of it is so interactable. Especially now that you can just meld whatever the hell you want to whatever the hell you want. Like um they also, this carries over from Breath of the Wild. They do such a good job of like, here's an area, here's some things you could do to solve some environmental puzzle, and we'll give you all the tools for it, or you can just do your own thing. It's entirely up to you in that regard. Just very well designed.
All right, Brett or Alex, which one of you wants to jump in?
Well, talked about Loon Acid before, and wouldn't you know it,
Do it
I'm gonna
again.
do it again. Because unlike many other games as of recent, it has like 40 million different biomes, and they're all completely different from each other. And you got the whole game is underground. So you have what starts as like regular spooky caves, but then you have a giant chasm that's so big that you can't see the top of it, and the entire thing is drenched in a shallow ocean of blood that you could wade through. And there's a giant, like, unkillable Jotun that's its legs are so long that you can't see the top of his body, so it's just looming there
Oh.
and stomping by. It won't hurt you, but you can't kill it because it's too big, and it'll just keep stepping. There's a castle run by a dynasty of vampires that plays like very purposefully Castlevania-esque music for only the inside of it and nowhere else in the game. There's a lot of variety, and yeah, it's part of the low poly indie art style craze, but that just means that one guy can make a game that has more personality in it than a lot of other examples that could be thrown out that came out this year. Some of them even that look very boring in comparison to something that has so much color and atmosphere in it, and a lot of variety in such a the compact experience. It was very cool to explore those areas.
All right, take us home, Alex.
All right, this game came out in 2022, I think, but I played it this year, so we're going to talk about
It
it.
counts. It counts.
This is Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. Game came out with, we were just discussing before the stream, some critique, but I think that at least most people can agree that the massive environments in that game look incredible. If you,
For sure.
you know, it's a game where there's moments where you cannot take the time to look around, but if you do, the environments are so interesting, and there's spots where you can see so much of the environment besides just the little portion you're playing in. You know, you cross over a bridge and you see this massive city behind that's looming as far up and as far down as you can go, and it's just really ingrained in like the lore and the genre, or the universe and everything, and it all just looks really cool.
Fat Shark has this talent that I've always associated with Naughty Dog as well, where they can take an area, and because their environment artists are so talented, they can make an area seem much bigger than it actually is. Even if there's like a lot of areas that you can't actually play in, they do such a good job of making it feel bigger than it actually
I
is.
definitely feel like Darktide does that a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Alex, you get to pick our next reward. So take us to the category that you most want to see talked about.
Let's talk about. I'm going back up towards the top here. Let's go best character design.
Good pick. You want to start, Alex?
Yeah, I
you
can.
got it?
I'm sorry. This is one that I kind of picked because I didn't want to talk more about Baldur's Gate 3 because I will enough already. I just from like a purely like design standpoint, Lilith in Diablo 4 is just so cool.
Hell yeah.
A fantastic villain and just an incredible design that is visually really memorable and striking. And some of the early cutscenes in the game really, when she first shows up and everything, it's really, really cool to see. And I don't know, makes an impact.
All right. I'll jump off of that and talk about Street Fighter 6. I don't think this is going to be controversial at all. Street Fighter 6 does a fantastic job of reimagining all the cast members. Ryu's design in this game is wild, and I love it. He has like the priest outfit with the big I forget the name of them, the big like prayer beads going around him. It looks super cool. I really love all the designs in it. And I think they just did a really good job of everyone. I play a lot of Cammy, and her new outfit is very good.
Also, Marissa having literal helmet hair is hilarious.
Literal helmet hair. It's very
and
funny
iconic.
And very good. There's great designs all around.
I'll go next. Jumping off of an earlier point, Alex and I were talking about On Guard and its lovely art style. That extends to the characters. Adelia de Volador, the main character, I just love everything about it. The choice of colors, the very like flamboyant Spanish Renaissance 15th century look is fantastic. It's purposefully like very over the top and fits the game. It fits its art style and its sense of humor so well, and I think it does. The most important thing for a character design is it can relay the character in its entirety to you visually without them saying anything, and I feel like it just nails that perfectly.
All right, Alex, you're our last one here.
Nearly every character in Elden Ring.
Really
Hell yeah, absolutely.
From the one of the first guys that you meet who's standing around who is just wearing a white mask and blue robes and telling you have no maidens, and then you meet him later on in the game and it turns out he's very evil. To Melina and Torrent, your wonderful goat horse thing that can allow you to double jump. To Ronnie, who I didn't realize until much later into her quest line was a doll and also had 4 arms.
Yes, and half a ghost face.
Oh, I didn't notice that at all.
Come on!
What
What are you talking about?
My settings are low. It makes my computer
You're crazy
chug.
for that. You're crazy for that.
That's wild.
My
Curveball.
god,
What a
so many
curveball.
like just all the bosses' designs are insanely busy, but it doesn't stop them from being like visually interesting, and it's not like overwhelming to look at them either. Too, I think there's a really good balance of design for it being very, very crowded. And then also, oh my god, Blythe, who is just big dog man and fantastic, and everything in this game makes me sad when you reach the end of someone's quest. And then there are beings in this world that are living jars. Alexander is another top character design. Yeah. He's my god, just everyone.
Well, it's my turn to pick, which means I'm going to move us and we're going to do one more round and then go on to our final 3 categories. So any awards that we don't use, because there will be a fair amount of them, will probably get brought up as little podcast games over the next couple of weeks. So keep that in mind. We would likely still talk about the things that we didn't talk about. It just won't be in this episode. So I'm moving us to best side character, because you talked about Blythe. Alex, you picked Blythe for best side character.
Yep.
I don't know if you have more to say about him, but
I did and I do. He's a wonderful he's a wonderful character from the moment you meet him for like his own little quest beginning through Ronnie's quest that he's a big part of. He's just you're wandering through these woods trying to avoid rune bears, which are environmental hazard enemies, and they're horrifying still, even at like level 140. They
You
make
could
me
take him,
quiver.
Alex.
They make me quiver in me boots. But you just hear like howling, and you think, oh no, a tornado is going to drop more wolves on me again, isn't it? And then you look up, and it's just a big boy with a dog head and a giant sword. And you snap your fingers, and he comes down to you. He's
It's
he's
incredible.
wonderful. And then you,
It's
you
so
find out all
good.
his history and his character stuff with Ronnie and all that. And then because it's Elden Ring and a Souls like, everything gets sad because it has to.
Of course it
Mhm.
does. All right.
Am
Well,
I am I a yeah, I don't want to say anything else for,
I
for
want to keep
spoiler
us
stuff.
moving a little bit because we are running up our time. So I do want to talk about Luis in particular, but also Ashley. Ashley's also very good from RE4 Remake. But Luis, our wonderful, gentlemanly trickster side character in RE4 Remake. Fantastic performance by the voice actors and just really good all around. The minecart sequence with him is one of my favorite sequences in any game ever. So good. This is also my main opportunity to talk about RE4 Remake because it is, despite being, I think, my number 2 game of the year, I didn't give it any of the rest of these awards. But I think it's just because these characters stood out really well. And yeah, it's just a phenomenal remake of a fantastic game to begin with.
I'm gonna keep the
What about
horror game.
Mauschly?
Oh,
Mauschly is pretty good. I mean, you
Mauschly
gotta
is very
respect to
good.
the character design of Mauschly.
Mauschly is
uh,
up there with the Armored Core fan art.
ugh. I'll keep the horror game theme going. I chose Pat Maine from Alan Wake 2, who I don't think means anything to any of you, but that's
Nope.
fine. He's an older gentleman, and he has a radio show, a local radio show in the town of Bright Falls, where he just talks about what's happening in the town. And because of the way this world works, and the fact that there is a real world and also a narrative created by Alan Wake going on at the same time, you have this old man who is saying story events that did actually happen in the real world, but didn't happen in the reality of the story being written. So he's trying to talk about local events for things that technically have happened, but the other characters don't realize have happened. And on top of that, he's also getting dementia, so he also has no idea what he's talking
Oh,
about.
oh
So
no.
as you're going on through the game, you come across radios and you get little snippets of his radio show, and it's just hilarious for him to be like, "Oh yes, Wendy came by and dropped off this beef jerky, and it was wonderful." And then a few episodes later, someone's like, "Dude, what are you doing? She died 2 years ago. Like, this is some sick joke. It's not funny anymore." He's like, "What are you talking about? She was just at my house yesterday."
Oh.
It just devolves, and it's such they place it perfectly because the game can be very like serious and depressing at times, but also goofy as hell. And they place these moments so perfectly to add just the right amount of levity, because you know exactly what's going on, and you know exactly like where the confusion is, but you're just listening to this poor old man. It's so funny. Oh, it's so great.
You say,
So
come on, Brett.
I was banking on this coming after one of the other categories you haven't done yet. But
Oh my god.
so I have Cuff from Forspoken here as a joke because everything about him sucks in literally every way. But I'll put a real answer instead and continue yet another part of the Armored Core sweep because Rusty is the goodest boy.
I would say
From
if I
Buff
hadn't
Heather.
played RE4 Remake, I had another character up here. I already forgot who it was, but Rusty would have been second.
Yeah. FromSoft has a thing with making dog-themed boys be really good side characters that you get to follow through the course of the game, and Rusty is a good compatriot, but an even better rival.
And then something horrible happens with them, and it's usually
of
your
course.
fault.
Yeah, of course it's your fault. But it's that mission where the horrible thing happens is the best mission in the game, and it's because of him. There's something about rivals saying things like only I can fly the highest or whatever in the mission where you have infinite thrusters to never stop flying while you're fighting him.
That's
It's very
amazing.
anime and very cool, and it's all because he's very well built up by that point of one of 3 endings of the game, only one of which is the one that has that mission.
Oh.
Okay. My pick was, I believe he is in a game that came out this year. I didn't play that game yet, but I early in this year decided to. I don't know. Anyway, I played these games this year. From the Yakuza game series, I picked Goro Majima, who is a secondary protagonist in Yakuza 0, and a side character in most of the other games. I think he might be a protagonist or secondary protagonist.
Yeah, he's a side character, antagonist, and protagonist in many of the games.
Yeah.
There's a complicated relationship. It's great.
Anyway, incredible character, hilarious character.
I gotta say, one of the strongest introductions of any character ever with Yakuza 0. His introduction is so good.
Yeah, I played a bit of I can't remember what it's called. The remake of the original Yakuza. Kiwami. Yeah. Anyway, I played that a little bit first, and his introduction is not nearly as impactful. But Yakuza 0, which is a prequel, I played a lot of that back towards the beginning of this year, and his sections and his introduction in particular are really interesting and impactful. And it shows a lot of evolution of his character into where he is in some of the later games.
All right. Brett, your last category pick, what's it going to be?
All right. This may seem like an odd pick, but we're going to go with comfiest game because we have not talked about Jusant yet, and I have to.
Oh, this was a category that someone made solely to give Jusant an award because 3 of us picked it.
It was me!
And I feel very awkward right now.
You just haven't played it, have you?
Nope.
You got
you can finish it in an afternoon. It's very short.
There you go.
But it is very fun. It's like what if Journey but up, because you spend the whole game climbing and learning climbing terminology and from all the shit that I didn't know went into climbing, obviously in a fantastical version of that sort of thing. But it's gamified really well. And because it's gamified so well, I didn't find myself stressing at all while playing, and that is perfectly fine. Because that made the game a dream.
Yeah, it's not too simulation heavy too, but there's you're able to control both sides of your body for reaching to different holds.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Oh.
Yeah. All right,
it's
Wyatt, you're the only one that didn't pick Jusant.
I picked Dave the Diver. So there are moments of this game that can be a little stressful. There's some boss fights, there's some combat, but for the most part, it's very spread out, and it's very sparse when the game really gets tense. But it's just this really cozy, relaxing loop of going scuba diving, collecting things, harpooning fish, and then bringing it back in to your little sushi bar and making sushi and running a restaurant. It's the game that I like to play at the end of the day, like right before going to bed, because it's just this cozy, comfy feeling loop that can be kind of stressful at times, but when you're done with the experience, you're like, I feel relaxed. I feel calm.
Did they have any there was some weird crossover DLC or something?
Yeah, they had DLC. They had crossover. They had a DLC with
Dredge. Right?
Dredge. Yeah.
Dredge. That's right.
Which I haven't played. But
I need to play that. That's another one.
All right, Wyatt, what's your pick for the next category?
are we trying to get like the big three out of the way, or is this just
That's
another
what we're gonna
random,
end up on once we're do through this. So don't worry about
Oh,
this three.
okay. Gotcha. Let's do.
This is your last non-big three category pick.
Oh, all right. Let's do. Let's do best ensemble / main cast.
Very good.
I picked Final Fantasy 16, which we've kind of touched on why, but great voice performances, characters that have very extensive lore and backstory, but mostly I picked them here because they're just so likable. Like
They're really
so many of
good.
these characters, like you're either just like with them 100%, like Jill, or there's characters like Sid, and or just like I just like these people, and I like spending time in this game just to like see what these people have to say.
Your
It's
Final
also a
Fantasy
game.
never misses with the main cast. They're always good.
Yeah.
No, they're wonderful, and I loved doing so much of the side content because they were side quests that, if they didn't like affect the main story in some way, they were still these really like touching little stories. Like there's a great one where you're trying to find seeds for a specific type of plant to keep your greenhouse alive. And not only is it tied into this really touching little side story that I don't want to talk about for spoiler reasons, but at the end it also gives you a nice like upgrade to your health potions that you drink throughout the game. And so they usually have a really nice little story going on, and then there's also some sort of like gameplay purpose for it as well. And so they did a really good job of tying story and reward into side quests in that regard. And yeah, there's just a bunch of really likable people that I want to get a beer with sometime.
All right, I'll start the Baldur's Gate
Yeah.
conversation because I think Alex and I both picked this. For me, this
another
is just a
chunk.
case of like I think Final Fantasy
absolutely
16 was
could've.
a super close second for me, but Baldur's Gate 3 is just like it's hard to argue with. I think it's like it's like if Mass Effect had come out this year. This is the award that it would sweep, right? Like best main cast, I think is for sure just this game. I think Baldur's Gate 3's cast is phenomenal. Every character is interesting, even the characters you get later on or that are optional. They've all got stuff going on. I mean,
technically they're all optional.
Yeah.
How they all interact with each other too, based on your party makeup. Oh my god, there's some really funny.
They have great little side
interactions.
conversations.
Yeah, it's just like how their chemistry evolves with each other.
And yeah, it's
very
what'll
fun.
make the game so replayable is all the interactions, because you can play each of them as well as origin characters and get like their internal monologues if you want it and stuff like that, which is super cool. I just love all the touches that Larian put into him.
Oh yeah, really.
Yeah, I absolutely could
fantastic
have
game of
gone
passion.
with Baldur's Gate 3 there as well. Totally deserves it. However, I picked for mine Spider-Man 2. Just because I thought it deserved mention as well, and we touched on it a little bit earlier. But Peter Parker, MJ, Miles Morales, Harry Osborn, even some of the side characters that don't get interacted with as much.
I think
make
Harry
up
deserves a special note here for being like as
Yeah.
impactful as he is.
Harry is also like, I'd have to look at the dialogue, but he's up there probably right under like Miles Morales for most lines of dialogue. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He's a big part of the story. It's very good.
Yeah. A lot of missions just with no like combat or anything, just dedicated to like trying to build that relationship between Peter and Harry, and I think they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, MJ is a huge part of that as well.
Absolutely.
And speaking of which, this is probably not the best place to put it, but I'm gonna squeeze it in this category because I want to say it. They made the MJ stealth missions way better in this game.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree. Absolutely.
Big critique of the original game, and I think it's totally fixed in the new one.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't play any of those, but I did play Final Fantasy 13.
Oh.
And I love those idiots. They're all very stupid and dumb and edgy in their own way because of the time the game came out, especially in the like type of person they're trying to like
You can
make the
tell
game for.
the year that they're from. You could probably guess by playing the game, right? Like,
Yes, yeah. Funnily enough, Troy Baker is also in Final Fantasy 13. But
Oh, is he in anything else I would know?
Definitely not.
Sound familiar?
The good part about it being one of the Final Fantasy games that has a party, but it limits it to 6 playable characters you can switch around, is they really give each of those characters like their time in the sun. I mean, they all get their own theme music, and they all get their own like parts in the story that are devoted to them. And I don't know, people that just call them really annoying were probably 10 years old when the game came out and
also
couldn't
specifically,
understand writing.
I find Hope very annoying. The rest of them are fine.
I love Hope because he starts exactly
But I've
like
also
a
never
kid
finished the
would.
game, so I don't know if he
Well,
changes.
you missed the part where he stops being like that
Oh, yeah.
and becomes a fully grown little adult boy. And he learns things about life and how to not be a pissy little idiot. But then
Good news. There's also a Final Fantasy 13 2 and 3 that you can play that these characters
3.
might.
There's not a 13.3. There's a Lightning Returns. Excuse me.
It's
Oh my
13
God.
It's come on.
Is it not 13.3 Lightning Returns, or is it
I don't
just
think
called
so. I think
Lightning?
it's just Lightning
Okay.
Returns.
It doesn't matter.
I love that we
It
have.
truly is a meaningless conversation.
I will never get over the fact that we have a 13, 13.2, and 13.3. It's just
Well, don't forget there's 10 and 10.2 as well as 11 and 12.
just the
No, wait,
stupidest
hang on.
shit
So
I've ever heard.
11
great.
was the first MMO, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're so
Not
off
ever,
track.
but the first Final Fantasy MMO.
Something resembling structure. All right. Wyatt, that was your category, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
So, Alex, L, it is your pick.
Alrighty, let's go for best sound design because I have a game that we haven't mentioned here yet and absolutely needs to be mentioned.
Absolutely.
For sure.
For best sound design. Signalis, another one of our Game Pass games that we did. Did we time this well for Halloween?
I think so.
No.
This was also in 90 million places in my last year Game of the Year list because I love
Signalis
this
we've
game
talked
so
about a
much.
lot. I forgot that I think we technically did do the Games Club for this year. But
I don't think it was for Halloween because I didn't play it, and I think I was in the...
It wasn't Halloween because I was traveling all of Halloween, so we definitely did it earlier.
It was around the time I came into the Games Club, whenever the hell that was.
Yeah, we did Signalis. Our deep dive was in August, so summer.
Okay. But oh boy, that is a wonderful horror game.
It's
absolutely
brings
phenomenal.
it back, feeling like that old school like near top down Resident Evil Silent Hill type low poly deal going on. You're in super corporate space after horrible things have happened.
And yeah, we did a 3-hour podcast on Signalis if you want to hear more of what we
Yep.
thought of it.
And I think it was my Game of the Year last year.
Yeah, it was. And yeah, we did a super deep dive discussion with a lot of talk, and we showed a ton of scenes. So very good game.
Use that radio.
Speaking of space horror, mine was Dead Space remake. I was gonna put Hi-Fi Rush because that is so much of the game's DNA, but I knew someone was gonna pick it, so I wanted to pick Dead Space remake, just for like when you think of video game sound design, I feel like in terms of traditional game sound design, this really deserves to be here because it's so well done. There's so many subtle sounds. Like one of the best things about this game is how it uses the environment of this giant space station that you're on to kind of heighten the scares, right? Because visually there's tons of spots where necromorphs could come out and pop out and attack you or something like that, but the sound design is so great too because you can always hear them scratching around in vents and stuff, but they won't always jump out at you. or uh, there's
Sometimes
little
they'll just
sounds.
wait.
No, exactly. Sometimes it's like too quiet, and you're like, "What's going on
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
What's happening?" Or like maybe there's like a wrench that falls over way in the distance in the sound design, and you're not sure if that means that something is
You like something
coming
that
or
vents or like
something is just
Yeah.
watching you, which is like almost
Yeah.
scarier. It's just, and then the coolest thing too is how they do voice work, right? So one of the new additions is Isaac Clarke is actually a voice protagonist, which I think they handled really really well. But one of the
Yes.
coolest parts is the voice line changes. The script is the same, but the actual voice line changes depending on your health. So if you're fully healed, Isaac will speak in a very like calm, collected voice. If you're really low on health, he's like panting, he's freaking out, and it just adds so much because the voice acting is actually reflecting like the state of the player in that moment, and it's probably
I've got
more
a quick-
representative of what you're actually feeling in that moment. It's
And
such
on
a
that too, when like they this is also where you could mention like now Isaac screams fuck when he has to reload or runs out of ammo, and it's that same thing. You're like,
Echoing
yeah,
exactly
I
what
too
you're
am
thinking.
screaming that.
or you know what? Even better when you're curb stomping like a necromorph head and
Yeah.
just like
oh
fuck
shit!
you,
No!
shit.
It's so good.
It's perfect because that I forget the voice actor's name off the top of my head. No one can throw out curse words
No
like
one
him.
does it
He
like
just
Except
him.
for Ben
Yeah.
he's
Stiller.
just got like a
That's
punch.
right. Okay. Yeah.
It's so well done.
Yeah, I'll jump in because you said you were going to talk about Hi-Fi Rush. I picked Hi-Fi Rush for this because I think Hi-Fi Rush is like pretty unequivocally the best sound design I've seen in a game in a very long time.
Absolutely.
The entire world moves to the music. Like everything is on beat, from your animations to attacks to enemy
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
It's
Mhm.
so good, and it just flows so well. And yeah, I'll talk about it more soon.
Mm.
Threatening of you.
How threatening indeed. All right, Brett or Alex?
I can keep the space science fiction horror remaster theme going. I'm talking about sound design from 2002 with the Metroid Prime remaster. Um,
Really good.
yeah, the sound design is incredible, and this bleeds into soundtrack a little bit because so much of the soundtrack matches the atmosphere of the environments and really immerses you into um, that world. And I don't know, sounds great. Other than that, I mean, a game from 2002 hardly even
Remastered really
needs
well, though.
remastered
The
really
sound and
well
everything's
with
great.
hardly any changes. I feel like,
Yep.
just made everything look up to snuff and
Updated controls, but it's still
updated.
like
Oh, thank God.
it feels like a new game when you go and play it because that game aged so well.
And
Well,
it's still super unique. There's nothing else quite like it.
yeah. Well, it's impressive too. They remastered a game and it looks great and it runs really well on Switch. It's still like a locked 60 frames. It's such an impressive remaster for something like the Switch.
All right, I'm gonna move us on to Brett.
I listen when I play in Core 6 and I fire the earshot back cannon. It's the closest thing I've come to feeling something in a very long time.
What about when Rusty says he
uh,
won't miss?
yes, there's that too, and they have the
Lance of
giant
Longinus, that worm.
yeah, the giant electromagnetic railgun that charges to 120% as a built-in feature and then fires from multiple kilometers away. But like there's it wouldn't be as good if they didn't sound that good. Part of the mech fantasy is you got to have the big heavy metal steppy stomps, but not just like giant like hitting tarmac like accurate real life sound effect. Like no, there has to be some weird like synth metal clang in there like it's from like a 1970s cartoon. Otherwise it
Yeah.
won't hit. And they have thrusters that sound like weird like space puddles being splashed into. They have giant energy cannons that sound like just someone holding the lowest note on like a Casio keyboard or something, and it's great. That's how you make that fantasy succeed, is with good sound design, and there is not a bad sounding thing in the game, pretty much.
All right, Alex, take us to our last category before the big three.
Let's see. There's not much left in the top section here on our list. I think I'm gonna go with most obnoxious character.
What a great thing to end on.
And then on a high note.
Hey, you were just talking about Armored Core 6, Brett. Let's just say screw Iguazu.
Yep.
Loving it.
Our favorite asshole.
He's obnoxious and I love
asshole.
it.
So, listen, Frey and Cuff had to be on this list somewhere. I couldn't decide between the two, so I said fuck it, and I put both.
And you did that with your freaking mind.
So here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. I feel like I have a pretty high tolerance for characters that won't shut the fuck up in video games. Okay, I grew up on Naughty Dog games. All right, I have a pretty high tolerance for like character monologue.
But what about characters that actively sound like they want you to stop playing the game?
That's
complain about
the
basic
thing.
game mechanics.
When your main character starts complaining about the game, probably complaining with you, it becomes a bit of a problem because your main character does not shut up. This character does not shut up ever. And to add on top of that, you have Cuff to add in witty dialogue. That's so witty and funny. Who also doesn't want to be in the game that you're currently playing. It's such an issue when the game is constantly berating you, trying to convince you to play literally anything else in your backlog. And eventually you cave in because the game is really boring.
Or you only played the
Eventually
demo
you
because you
cave.
didn't want to give it money.
Exactly.
Which, Ryan, you don't have to buy this game. You can wait
when
for
it's
Avowed to come out.
$3 or it goes out on Game Pass or something, I'm gonna play it. It's gonna happen.
Listen,
actually,
Dave the Diver is going to be $3 at that point.
Look,
Just play
I
that
have
instead.
to
Check your
I have to
local
burn my hand to
Walmart. It
learn.
will probably be $5. I'm not even joking.
No. Check your local Walmart. There's going to be check your local Walmart. There's going to be a fresh copy in the parking lot. Just tossed aside.
The used syringe. From the person who played it last.
Alex, take it away.
Okay. For the most obnoxious character, I had to go with everyone in Sea of Stars. Literally everyone, because of the writing.
Yes.
More Sea of Stars hate.
It's
I don't feel that
so
strongly about it, but I understand why you don't like it.
Their oaths for their weapons, as Brett was talking about.
We talked about this a bunch in the last Game Pass episode. Not to fully bash on Sea of Stars because none of us have finished it, but yeah, the introductions are not super convincing. All right, Alex, stuff. What you got going on?
Okay, for mine, I was talking. Unfortunately, this is not a character in a game, but a character in real life, or many characters, in fact. I think the most obnoxious thing this year was people talking about Spider-Man 2 on the internet.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I haven't even played the game, and I have no horse in this race, and I agree with you. That should say something.
The game came out, and I played it right away because I love Spider-Man, and then I went on the internet, and I'm like, oh my god.
That was your first
weird
mistake.
Group of people that really hate it.
The worst takes I've seen in a long time on all kinds of takes, and all of them bad. Just like people hated on the game for, I don't know, just all kinds of reasons. Plenty of them had to do with their being women and people of color in the game.
Oh boy.
Or not being able to take the subway in a Spider-Man game. What is wrong with you people?
I saw somebody.
Okay. Oh no, go ahead.
I saw somebody complain that they reused assets and textures, and I'm like, for Manhattan,
No,
Brooklyn, and
for
Queens.
real life. What are you talking about?
Here's what we do in a case like that. We have to find them, and I can't legally continue that.
But the answer is implied.
I'm gonna pivot off of that just so that Alex doesn't get in trouble. I love when people complain about not being able to use the subway, because that was the fast travel in the first game, was that you would like take the subway, go to a certain part of the city. I love that they're complaining about that, because they're essentially complaining that they've made a much better fast travel system. Now,
They don't need loading screens anymore.
What
First
is the
of all-
fast travel system in Spider-Man 2?
Okay, so first of all, don't fast travel at all. However, you should at least once or twice, because the fast travel that they do have is actually really cool. If you go into the map, you have your little cursor, right? You just bring the cursor to where you want to go to. You hold a button,
Anywhere.
and then it teleports you there. There's no loading screens. It just zooms into the map, and you're there. It is one of the coolest fast travel systems I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've
for
seen
a
somebody
Spider-Man
time
game
it.
where you should never do it ever.
I saw somebody timing it. It's like 1.2 seconds of like a transition animation,
my
basically.
God.
Jeez.
I have to cut
It's
us off here
awesome.
so we can keep going, but Brett, end us on our high note.
Listen.
Or
There's.
could I say end us on
there's
our
a lot
chai
of-
note?
you know what? I actually did think of that, and I made the conscious decision to spare you, and you did it anyway.
Nope.
You
Not
get to live
tonight.
with it. But that is something that Chai would say, and also probably something we would laugh at, because
As he air guitars and walks off screen.
yeah, like two seconds after Forspoken came out and became the most beloved Marvel movie ever made, Hi-Fi Rush came out and did literally like the same thing, but right, in that Chai is just like an obnoxious, just dorky loser the entire game, and doesn't really like get better, but he's funny the whole game. So it doesn't, like, I don't want him to get that's like wanting like okay, yeah, like Scott Pilgrim does grow and get better as his character arc, but he doesn't become less stupid. Like, that's why he's funny. It's
I
the
can
And
same
the
make
other
kind of
characters
thing.
all make fun of him for it.
Worse.
Yeah.
The difference is that Chai looks like he's really enjoying himself.
Oh,
That is
That's
true.
the
He
difference.
loves being in his game. As he should, because it's a great game.
All right. Well, that's the last of our small awards that we're gonna do tonight. We have 3 big categories left, and I'm gonna say for our dishonorable and honorable mentions, we're gonna do just like 1 or 2 sentences on each thing and move on, just because we have a lot to talk about. But these are things that we're gonna throw in. We're gonna start with the bad and go with our dishonorable mentions. I'll kick us off here. This was a really good year for games. I don't want to bully things just to bully them. And I want to specify that the game I'm about to talk about is actually pretty good. It's City Skylines 2. But man, they made the active decision to launch with a ton of performance problems.
Yeah, that launch
Because they
was
had
really
to.
bad.
Like, I understand that, like, it's a budget thing and they had to launch. Like, the studio was under threat of closure, basically. So it makes sense that they did it, but that is a rough way to launch your game. Especially when it's like, I don't know, I played a lot of City Skylines. The first one, I played a bit of City Skylines 2. It still crashes my computer as of the last time I played it, which was a month or 2 ago.
Oh,
But
wow.
Oh.
I need to, like, give it another shot once it stabilizes a little bit, because it was a really good baseline. They added tons of cool stuff in this game. And I was going to extend that to Unity, because the reason is Unity had a software like thing that was supposed to launch that didn't come out. So the technology never worked in the engine that they had been told it was going to work in. This game was going to be the showcase of dots, and it didn't happen.
That's a rough situation.
Yeah, it's a
for
terrible
everyone,
situation.
Yeah.
man. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of City Skylines 1. And I haven't played the second one. I'm really hoping it improves and I can give it a go.
I'll go next. So the ones on my list, there's not a whole lot of surprises here. I've talked about each one of these individually.
You left me with nothing to put. You mentioned all the ones I would have.
You can double down.
I realized that I haven't actually played a lot of the like high profile bad games. I didn't actually play them this year. There were a couple though. Redfall, of course. It's terrible, empty, boring,
Or
buggy,
too full if you're someone.
or too full if you're if the stars aligned. I don't know. Forspoken, I'll be honest, I only played the demo. I hated the controls. I hated the character. The environments were very dull and very boring. There's some fun like traversal stuff, but I feel like the controls that they had for it really limited how much fun you could have with the traversal. And Atomic Heart, because I was really into it at first, and then like I said, the open world, just the entire house of cards fell, and it just was a complete flat line after that, and I was left very disappointed.
Alex, one of you's got to go.
All right, I'll. Yep. You said it. That's all it needs.
Good. You said you would, and then you didn't.
For me, I picked the day before. I actually haven't played this game, but what a disastrous launch!
The zombie survival scam, right?
Yep.
I don't know if it was ever confirmed to be a scam.
No, it was. It's basically confirmed.
Okay.
Because they shut down the studio immediately and left and fled.
Yeah.
Maybe took the money, but Steve refunded everybody, so I don't know.
Yeah,
there's a few great videos that chronicles the entire story of this disaster.
I was gonna say, if you ever want to, have a fun time looking at a disaster of a game, look up the history there, because it's 4 days of chaos before it all.
The day before 4 days of chaos.
Longer than that. It's like several years of chaos.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's
the
biblical.
developer folded like 4 days after the game came out.
Yeah.
All right,
Good
Alex,
stuff.
you're our last dishonorable mention.
Oh, I already said it. Gollum.
Oh, you said Gollum already?
Yeah.
I fully forgot about you talking about Gollum. I guess that's about as good as the game is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Time for the positive. Let's go to honorable mentions. I've got a few here, just games that I started playing this year that were really good. These are largely just here because I couldn't fit them elsewhere on the list. Guild Wars 2, MMO that I've been playing and has a really good like free flow map system, and it's just a fun time to mess around in. One of the better free-to-play, like actually free-to-play games. Spider-Man 2, obviously we've talked about a lot of positives. Disgaea 7, great strategy RPG series. This is the second 3D one, and it actually like makes the transition really well. 6 was not great, 7 is really good. Viewfinder, crazy creative puzzle game where you use a camera to like take pictures and then insert them into the real world and like create new pathways and like move buildings and stuff and solve puzzles. Great game. Nice and short. And Starfield, I really like Starfield. I think the criticisms of it are very justified, but I still think there's a lot of good in that game. And yeah, it didn't make the rest of my list, but it made honorable mentions.
Yeah. I'll go next. Spider-Man 2 is right at the top of my honorable mentions, just because that was my game of the year until another game came out, which we will probably get to. Tears of the Kingdom was another like, oh, this is obviously going to be somewhere in my game of the year contender. Very disappointed with how they handled the story, but I cannot deny that it is a design marvel, both design wise, technically. So many impressive things wrapped into one tiny little card. Bolt Gun is here because Bolt Gun is amazing, and the fact that it only got 70 on OpenCritic is one of the greatest injustices of the entire year. Bolt Gun is awesome. Go play Bolt Gun. God, I have a lot. Jesus. The finals. Probably my favorite multiplayer fun that I've had all year. Like I said, very unique. It's very its own thing, and there's so many smart design decisions. Final Fantasy 16 may have been my game of the year if I was able to finish it
Quick, they're
before this
starting
episode.
to play the music.
I know. Sorry.
Wrap it up.
Fantastic ensemble cast. So many great story moments. Really fun combat. Gorgeous. Like we've said before, voice acting remarkable. Dead Space remake, really faithful recreation of the first game while adding a lot of great elements, especially from Dead Space 2, and just being really smart about all of the additions that it makes to the formula and making things a lot better, a lot more streamlined. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, Advance Wars Forever. And then finally, I have also have Starfield. because I also really enjoyed Starfield. I agree with many of the criticisms of the game, like Ryan said, but I still think there is a really enjoyable loop here, and there's a lot of fun to be had.
Hey, Wyatt, I think your list demonstrates 2023 slapped. This is a good
I
year.
really,
Yeah.
it was tough. This was tough. These last 3 sections were really tough.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got I. Because of my game of the year, Baldur's Gate 3 had to go here because it would have gone there otherwise. It's such a fantastic game. Really gets the spirit of D&D finally into a digital form, especially with its multiplayer capabilities. And just how much fun you can have either solo or with other people. Chained Echoes, a wonderful JRPG style game with some fun combat that I think made it really easy for me to get back into the more turn-based style with how forgiving it is with health. And then Warframe, because it keeps bringing me back.
Specifically,
That's how
I
they
keep
get
dragging
you.
you back. To be fair,
Yeah.
I do keep dragging
Because there
you
is
back.
so much stuff that they keep adding, and it's all good.
Yep.
Those are my 3 mentions.
My 3 are Lunacid for the multiple myriad reasons that I've mentioned already. There's a lot of good stuff going for that game, and even with all the other stuff that came out this year, is probably the closest thing to almost being my game of the year because I really really liked it. Armored Core Last Raven wasn't on my list anywhere else, but just imagine the things that Armored Core 6 did, but on the PS2, and it's
Pretty great.
it would be there instead. And then also I think Final Fantasy 13 might be my favorite one. Not I like yeah sure oh no Brett's gonna be the stupid silly contrarian again, but I genuinely really 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 loved it. And I was appalled and surprised by the fact that it's so hated like it is. So
It just
that's
follows the
why that
formula
is
every
there.
other Final Fantasy game follows, which is it comes out is the worst thing ever, and then the
Yeah,
next one
and
comes
then
out and it'll be
15
the best
comes
thing
out
ever.
and it's good.
Yeah. All right, Alex, your
All right.
last one left.
For mine, I just want to mention BattleBit. I had a ton of fun playing that, mostly with you guys,
Hell
and then
yeah.
some on its own. Great.
So good.
Fills that Battlefield niche if you're not playing Battlefield, pretty much. Jedi Survivor, I wanted to mention as well. A great game from what I've played. Unfortunate timing that, a little bit rough launch and unfortunate timing that I believe it was Tears of the Kingdom came out like 2 weeks later or something.
Yeah,
So
it's stacked
never
here.
finished it for me.
I think for all of us, Jedi Survivor kind of slipped.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention, just for everybody who loved Baldur's Gate 3, I played Planescape Torment, much older RPG, and I've played it before, but I came back to it this year after playing Baldur's Gate 3. Go play that game. That game's awesome.
Super good. All right, it's time for the big one, gang, and I'm going to kick us off with, I said when we did the Games Club for this game that unless something came out that was really special, it would be my game of the year. And guess what it is? It's Hi-Fi Rush. Baldur's Gate 3 is really special. I haven't finished it. Maybe it would have been game of the year if I had, but as of right now, Hi-Fi Rush I think is still my top. I'm a huge fan of rhythm
Surprised it
games.
beat out 16.
Yeah, I like
for you.
16, but 16 has 16 is like not consistent in quality. Like I love 16 entirely, but there are parts of that game that are more boring.
It tends to meander quite a bit.
Yeah, it has some meandering moments. It's still really good, but it meanders. Hi-Fi Rush gets to the point, and it's great the whole time through. Gotta give a shout out to our best character, 808, little plush, 808 here. Yeah, love that game. I love all the mechanics they have that are actually involving rhythm into action. I love the gumption they had to shadow drop it day of on the Direct. Maybe the single greatest move I've ever seen in game development history.
Totally.
That was really, really special. I think hearing everyone that made it talk about it, they have so much passion for it. The characters are great. They've been supporting it with outfits in DLC if you want to buy them, but at the same time, there's a ton of outfits in the base game that you can just get by playing. There's all sorts of cool stuff. Great like Metroidvania extra rooms if you go back and play missions again once you have new characters.
And very hard challenges behind them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also, great ensemble cast. Like, this is another really good one. All the characters are great. And yeah, I think that this is just one of those games that, like, for me, there was no low point. I think Hi-Fi Rush is consistently at the level of, like, being a 9 or 10 out of 10 the whole time through. And that is super rare. Most games have, like, a low point, and Hi-Fi Rush, I think, just never did. It blasted
Yeah,
the whole way through.
seriously.
Absolutely. I'll go next. Like I said, Spider-Man 2 was my game of the year ever since it came out. Then another game came out that wasn't at first, and then eventually won me over. It's Alan Wake 2. There are just so many sequences that I will never ever forget. So many moments of insane creativity. And when I mean insane, not like wow, so creative, as in Sam Lake is an insane person, but also a highly creative person, and he's just packaged these wonderfully weird moments and like weird, interesting mechanics. And it's also here because it's one of the first instances of a plot-driven story that has managed to keep me interested throughout the entire thing. And to me, that's actually a huge accomplishment because I tend to burn out of plot-heavy stuff. But this was I just had to know how it ended. So many goofy side characters. Just so many like, oh, that's so interesting, or oh, that's genius. Just moments that kind of you're just left in awe of what's in front of you. And yeah, like I said, so many moments from this game that I don't think I will ever forget, as horrible as my memory is.
Someone's got to follow that up.
All right, I can go.
You can do it.
Baldur's Gate 3 is my game of the year. It's many categories for me. I was very excited for this game. I have been waiting for it 4 years, and didn't really disappoint. You know, it was incredible. I'm a huge D&D fan, and it really translated everything over really well while making those improvements to make it all flow a bit better as a video game. The voice cast was incredible. The plot was incredible. Everything praise-wise has basically been said about this game, so I don't want to spend too much time. But definitely most memorable game for me this year, and I will continue to play it.
Yeah, and I expect
into the
something we'll
future.
probably do a Games Club on eventually, but it's just such
It's
a
a
beast
long
of a
game.
that like we
Oh
gotta
my
kind of
God,
get
yeah.
to that point where multiple people have finished it.
We have a lot of those games that we want to have like
Baldur's Gate
Club
3 is like
episodes about,
that's the equivalent
but
of
they're
us
just
saying
so
let's do it on
huge.
Persona 5. Like,
Yeah.
The 9
Well, the
million
reason-
hour experience.
The reason we never did a Tears of the Kingdom one because there's just so much to do.
so much of that game, and we wanted to be able to play other games this year. I think I still haven't finished Tears
Yeah.
of the Kingdom, despite really liking it.
Mhm.
I'm very close.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, don't forget the three of us here are playing in a campaign that's a prequel to Baldur's Gate 3 too.
Yeah, we're doing
D&D campaign.
Yep. All right, Brett, you sounded ready.
This was basically a foregone conclusion. There wasn't going to be a different answer. No other game had a chance. Not even really because Armored Core 6 is the best game ever. Definitely has some problems that Ryan and I went over on an episode about it and have mentioned multiple times in other episodes. And on top of that, their recent edition of ranked PvP has made me feel emotions that I haven't felt since Rainbow Six. So I
I've seen your
refuse
tweets,
to-
Brett. It's very funny.
Oh my God.
I'm glad that I could be a joke to you, Ryan, because that's why those tweets are there. But it's the amount that this game does right really feels like FromSoft's return to form, but they never really lost their stride in the first place. It's just like they they've spent years and years going off on a crazy globe-trotting adventure, trying a bunch of crazy food and visiting a bunch of other cultures and places and stuff, and dabbling in different practices and traditions and religions and stuff, and they just got back home, and now they get to return to their normal family life, but now with all this enlightenment that they've gained from all the places they visited, because there hasn't been one of these for like almost 11 years or something, and it's really really freaking good for such a specific niche. It hits all the check marks, and
I can't
boy
wait for the
howdy,
clones. I want so
I
many.
can't wait for the clones. I want all the indie devs. There already are a ton of indie devs that are making their little itch.io projects.
They're core
Uh,
likes.
Yep, I can't wait for
Oh,
those. I
God.
can't wait for the expansion, if there is going to be one, which there has to be because the game made an Armored Core $1 million. Uh, yeah, I'm very excited for the future of this specific corner of FromSoft because now that it's back, there's going to be more, and I'm very happy.
Would you say this kind of feels like, because you would understand this analogy, Brett? It kind of feels like Mad Max Fury Road in the sense that you have a director
Yes.
returning to a franchise that he hasn't touched in many years, and yet somehow it's like hasn't lost his step at all.
Yeah, it's just a swan song for not only like the thing that it's a sequel of, but also like every other thing that it was inspired by and has aped off of it in its absence of doing things on its own. That's a really good comparison.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right, Alex, bring us home.
Alrighty. Speaking of From Software, or similar to it, trying to avoid a way of saying like, the game, the game,
Thank you for that. Much appreciated.
the the game that jump started my character development this year, and that I was originally, so sure would be bad because it's a Pinocchio video game. How is that gonna be good? It's fantastic. It has opened my eyes, and
Yep.
I mean, not to brag, it has a grappling hook in it, so that's just always making something better too. That no the this is very much to the side, but as like a quick thing, the grappling hook, when you fully upgrade it, it's called the puppet string. Its full attack combo is you pull yourself towards the enemy, you do a kickflip off them, and then you drive your weapon through the top of them.
It looks sick. I want to unlock it so bad.
Yep.
It's phenomenal looking. It's so cool.
Specifically, Alex, do you want to say the name of the game?
Oh yeah, Liza P.
Good.
Does
Yeah.
it really make you feel like Pinocchio?
I don't know about feeling like Pinocchio, but there's so many like cool unique mechanics too, and I think it's a great way. It's so I hear a lot of people say like it's like the hardest Souls like they've ever played. I for I don't know about that because it was my first like that I've finished through. There's so many like really beginner friendly mechanics with it. Whether it's like taking inspiration from both Bloodborne and Sekiro with the ways that you're able to regenerate health so easily, or it's
You can return to the base whenever and not have to worry about needing like items to do it.
Yes, there's that. There's oh the oh my god, I just lost my train of thought. What did I just say? The
The weapon special arts and stuff
ways,
too that are great.
the weapon special arts, the mechanic of being able to craft weapons with different blades and hilts and combining them to make like these wacky combinations. Very unique feeling boss weapons as well. I went full weeb and used the katana that I get from a puppet graveyard boss. And it has a rhythm mini game to perfect parry, and that's its heavy attack. It's so fun. All like the bosses and their like patterns are really fun to. Oh, it's another like really fun beginner friendly thing that it does. With souls or your ergo in this game, the currency and level up things. specifically for like fog door bosses, it leaves them outside the room when you die. So you don't have to just continuously commit. You can go back, you can reassess your strategies like, okay, I'm going to get more familiar with either this weapon or go grind some more enemies or things like that. And you can keep the souls that you would have lost in any other Souls game like that. It's so good. And the atmosphere and the environment too are wonderful. Krot is a fantastic city to go around. The enemies are really cool, whether you're dealing with puppets or infected or people. Yeah, pretty really decent enemy variety. And then also another fun thing that I think really helped with its accessibility as a thing that could help people enter into the Souls-like genre is that it has its story very upfront.
It does
as well too. There are some like weird things where plot points are dropped. Like with Gemini, there's a lot hinted to him that isn't really followed up on. Who's Gemini, your little sidekick?
Apparently, it's getting a DLC, so
it is, and
Hell
it is.
yeah.
It's either DLC for Pinocchio, or they've also teased their next game, which is going to be themed around the Wizard of Oz and its original source material.
Oh,
I'm in.
yeah,
that's
looks
really interesting to me.
They found a
I-
niche for themselves.
I'm so excited for it, and I am absolutely going to be buying their next game.
all right.
Um,
Any last thoughts about it, Alex, or is that your talk about Lies of P?
Disregard what people say about its difficulty. It gives you plenty of tools to your disposal. People have done like throwable.
It also
or
did get a couple
consumable
balance
items.
patches that made it a
Yes.
little bit better.
Is that it has summons that are incredibly useful and helpful in the game as well. It is very worth playing, especially if you haven't been able to really get into Souls-likes before. I'm also considering getting Sekiro now too, because parrying does certain things to me.
really does that juice to you.
Yeah,
All right.
it does. It gives me the juice.
Well, that's our game awards list here, our Gamescast awards. Instead of shoutouts this year, because this is our awards thing, I'm going to take us to something that acknowledges how stacked of a year 2023 is, and say we're doing one last award, which is the 2023 game that you didn't play that you want to play the most, just to demonstrate how crazy this year was. For me, that's Alan Wake 2. I did not play Alan Wake 2 and absolutely want to.
Come join us, Ryan.
But I need to make my way through Alan Wake 1 and then the Control DLC. I want to do it properly.
I'll go next. I really wanted to get around to playing Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty this year, and
Fantastic.
too many things came out. As someone who liked even the base game when it first came out, I haven't messed around with any of the like 2.0 updates and stuff like that, and I've been really looking forward to that as well. And just doing a different playthrough. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and it's probably going to be sometime soon, but I'm sad that I missed it.
I could probably make quite a list here, but I just threw on two. For me, it's Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader. That's by the same team that did the Pathfinder games, which are fantastic RPGs, and I'm a big Warhammer fan. And the other one would be Like a Dragonetian.
Great game.
If I was to pick just one out of my decent list, also one that came out this year, Spider-Man 2, definitely. Which it is not that
It's
far off.
taunting you, Alex.
I have the console almost set up. I have not pressed the power button on it yet, or recovered my account. It's so close. Yeah,
I want to play Final Fantasy 16 so fucking bad, but I can't because
Brett.
Square Enix is stupid.
Brett, I'm going to make a devil's bargain with you, okay? You play Final Fantasy 16 when it comes out, and I will finish Lunacid.
Okay. And we'll do Games
Just
Club
you,
episodes on both.
Absolutely.
That's fine. I listen. I mean,
More like an angel's bargain.
It's an angel's bargain. These are both things that we both want to do. This is going to be the new Bloodborne on PC rumor, but there's now a rumor that 16 is going to come out on Xbox. That's not going to fucking happen. But if it does, I will be there.
Do it.
What do you mean? This year's the year
Do
for
it.
Bloodborne
Be there
on
or
PC.
be square, Enix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will play it someday, and I don't know, maybe I'll like it, but hopefully I will.
All right. Well, on that note, it's the end of our show. We hope you had a good time listening. And as always, podcast on every podcast platform Tuesdays at some point during the day. It kind of is random. That's pretty much it. YouTube and Twitch as well.
It's a big episode. What happened
Yep.
tonight?
Oh,
You
yeah.
always are.
Jam packed.
Could have gone
So
for
full
another
of
hour
jelly.
too.